Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current cultural and social issues through a clinical lens. Good day, good day, good day. Hello, everybody. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I have a tough one for you because there's some things coming up that we've got to prepare for. If we're not prepared, we will fail. 60 to 80% of you listening to this podcast right now are susceptible to something absolutely terribly troubling. 100% truth coming at you, folks. 100% truth. The tip of the day, before I tell you what it is that you are susceptible to, most likely, 60 to 80% of you, at least. The tip of the day, before you enter a crowd, set your limits. It sounds simple, right? But I promise you this, 60 to 80% of you listening to this right now will not do that. And because of that, you will end up in a very dangerous and unhealthy situation. These are the facts, folks. You can do the research yourself. You can look up things. I'm going to give you some language here to start your search. Groupthink, group norms, social norms. You can look up contagion theory, convergence theory, emergent theory. You can look up conformity. You can study nothing but the silence in a group and how that confirms the rest of the people in the group. It encourages. If you remain silent, you encourage dysfunction in a big group, period. You don't have to like it. It's reality. You can look up beliefs, stereotypes, perception, consequences. There's a whole bunch of areas that you could look into as a way of gaining some understanding of your potential delinquency problems. Now, I'm doing this for a reason, folks. One, boundaries are essential in social groupings. Boundaries are essential psychologically for safety. There's two reasons we set boundaries. Two. That's it. It's always the same two. No matter what anybody tells you, there's two. We set them for safety. We set them for comfort. If we do not set a boundary, it does not exist. Period. The end of the story right there. Social norm dismissal is very common in large groups. Social norms disappear. Why? Because we are 60 to 80% of us. I know that's a big variance, but understand the research, one, we don't want to create mobs and riots in order to do the research. So we have to research based off of opportunities that present themselves, which means it's not easy research. Okay. But what we do know is 60 to 80% of you, a large portion of you, are vulnerable to dismissing your social norms. Just getting rid of them. You were not violent, but you got wrapped up in the frenzy, and now you're violent. You feel justified, and so you curse and you scream at somebody because you don't like their vantage point. But that's not you. That's not what you would normally do. We also have in our world right now, at this moment, 2024, October of 2024, there are a large number of wars going on in the world, and not just little conflicts. I mean, we're talking big wars. Lands being taken over, people being oppressed and pushed out, People defending and saying that it's about defense, and yet they're aggressive. Like, we're seeing this stuff all over the place. And war is a unique situation. But I got to tell you, this is part of the reason it matters. You could get sucked into some type of behavior that you don't agree with. We learned a lot in World War II. If you go back and look at World War II, there were people who would, when Hitler was running things in Germany, there were people who died at the hands of other people who didn't want to kill them. That's a fact. You can go back and look it all up. We've got some good documenting of that particular part of history. Politics right now, at least here in the United States, are at a high. It happens every time we have a presidential election. And right now, the intensity is ramping up. And come November the 6th, people are going to have some idea of what January is going to look like. And what could happen, very likely will happen, is groups of people. If Kamala wins, there's going to be groups of people who want to come together and protest. If Donald Trump wins, there's going to be groups of people who want to come together and protest. And what does that mean, folks? That means you will be susceptible if you are not prepared with the tip of the day. Before you enter a crowd, set your limits. You also want to think about this. Another reason why this matters, church, those of you out there who know me, you know I am a Christian. I also work with lots of people who've experienced spiritual abuse. So I'm not going to be contradictory here, but I am going to say something really clear. Churches sometimes use groupthink in ways that they don't intend to use groupthink, as a way of persecuting people and judging people. But it's not our place. It's not your place. And so when that happens, we have what we call spiritual abuse. And yes, it happens in your church. Does it happen because people are mean, vicious, horrible, no good? Not necessarily. It could. Like, evil can, try to sneak into anything. It happens, though, because we are not setting our limitations. We are not saying, whoa, hold on. It is not my place to judge. I'm going to provide you an observation from my vantage point. You have to decide if that fits or not. It's feedback, not judgment. There's a big difference between feedback and judgment, folks. So I gave you some reasons as to why this topic matters. Let me get into the 3 theories, because I know it's a little more technical than this one, but it's super important. With the things on the horizon, it's very important right now in particular. Theory breakdown. Here we go. Contagion theory. Okay. It essentially says irrational and emotionally charged behavior comes out of crowds. In other words, thoughts disappear. Many of you have listened to me and heard this before. On one side, we have emotions. Okay. Emotions are where we and the world run into each other. So it could be our environment smacks into us, or we smack into the environment. All right. This happens every time we are awake. You got 5 senses. They're always gathering information, emotion. That's what they're doing. Okay. When the emotion filters through thought and then becomes behavior, we have what we would consider a full cycle. Now, the full cycle doesn't mean it's perfectly formed. Sometimes we don't think about the 3 things we need to think about. Sometimes we don't think about the emotion, the emotion itself. Like, why am I experiencing this sensation? Sometimes we don't think about the situation, like what caused the emotion to surface. And then sometimes we don't think about the patterned out history we have. our own paradigms, our own biases, our own issues that might manifest because of this collision with our environment. If we don't do all three, folks, it's an incomplete thought process. Not only that, but in the thinking part, we have to infuse morality. Whether you are religious or not, morality is infused at the thinking stage. In order for it to be infused at the thinking stage, it has to be built prior to the emotional experience. Meaning, we have to think about it ahead of time. In other words, before you enter a crowd, set your limits. Do it before you have the experience. That's where morality comes in. Then the behavior has a chance of being a good and healthy behavior. I'm hoping this all makes sense, folks. The contagion theory does suggest that when the thoughts disappear, we have that gap and it just goes straight from emotion to behavior. We can end up with what we call crowd frenzy, where the crowd is behaving almost purely based on emotion, with maybe a few strategically placed thinkers in the group who are controlling the emotion of the crowd. That can happen. Sometimes they don't even know that that's their role, but they do it and it causes problems. Okay. Convergence theory. Convergence theory is the next one. It's like-minded unity. People who have similar aspirations, morals, beliefs come together and they do as a group what they individually desire. And that's how it manifests. So they come in and internally they have set their minds to violence, let's say. And they know they want violence. They show up and they're with, 500 other people who internally also want violence. And then violence manifests, meaning their chemistry connects to one another, and what they wanted, what they set out for at the beginning is what manifests. Interesting theory. When this occurs, what a lot of people would suggest based on this theory is that each of them is individually responsible. Here's the thing to consider. Like if you go and do some of this research, why is it 60 to 80% will get sucked into behaviors that they didn't want? It refutes convergence theory to some degree, but it doesn't mean that the theory is null and void. It just means you got to be, there might be more to it. Same with contagion theory. Okay. The last one, emergent norm theory. Emergent norm is basically a combination of contagion theory and convergence theory. It suggests that both of those things might be in play. And the result is some people are manifesting what they wanted, and others are skipping from the emotion of it to the behavior without going through the thought and the morality piece in the middle. And therefore, you end up potentially with that 60 to 80%. A lot of people would say that that's a great theory, that it's a combination theory. Well, that's true. But every theory has its limitations, folks. Now, we went over why this matters, but let me tell you what you can do about it. All of these theories mean jack squat if you are in that 20 to 40% that sets your own trajectory before you arrive. Hence the tip of the day. The solution to group stupidity, in other words, emotion to behavior without thought, or coming together with a mindset of, one thing and linking to all the others and causing chaos as a result, the defense against that is before you enter a crowd, set your limits. That means think about your morality, your strengths and your weaknesses before you even arrive. Now, November is coming. It's coming awful quick. In less than 1 month, we will know who we elected to be the president. And there's going to be a whole bunch of people who say, oh, this is not right. We shouldn't have this election result. And they're going to want to come together as groups and comfort each other. And they're going to do this in the form probably of protests. If you happen to be one who's going to go to a protest, set your intention before you go. Or you listening to me right now are at risk of becoming completely dysfunctional in that group. We're all susceptible to it. But if you set your intention before you go, you know your limits because you've established them, you will know when to leave before it's a problem. I hope this helps. Please share this widely. We've got less than a month to get this out there to the people who need it. I know that emotions are going to be elevated. So share this, folks. Get this to the people who have a tendency to go from emotion straight into behavior. They're the ones who need it the most. And the rest of us need it also. If you suck at setting boundaries, or you know somebody who does, send this to them. I hope this is good. I hope this is useful. Please, like, subscribe, do all those things. Let us know what you think, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.